My name is Paola Lopez-Cervantes. I'm a senior graduating May 2026. I define the South as being my home. I grew up in Western North Carolina, so I feel like the way I grew up with my teachers who are Southern and my friends who are Southern, I also feel like that is my home and my community that's part of the South. And growing up, I did kind of struggle a little bit to find my identity, which is what inspired my project. But ultimately right now I do identify as being Mexican American and Southern. So my project is called Floreciendo in the Blue Ridge, which translates to blooming from the Blue Ridge, since that's where I grew up. And this project aimed to interview and take pictures of other Hispanic young adults who grew up in rural Western North Carolina to talk about their multicultural identities being in the South, which is a predominantly white area, since we don't have the representation of having a bigger Hispanic community as one would in states like California, Texas, or Florida, or even bigger cities like in Chicago or Nueva York. So I think it's really important to kind of capture what our experience is like in the South, in North Carolina, in Western North Carolina specifically, since that's my hometown and it's often not talked about. But the community of Hispanics is growing. We've seen this also, how it's relevant in today's society and our current political administration as well, seeing how our communities are being targeted. So I think it's even more pressing now to talk about our experiences growing up in the South and how we can have and form our own representation, since we're often stereotyped. Some of the biggest takeaways that I had from my project was seeing the patterns in the different people's experiences growing up in Western North Carolina. For example, most of the participants had experienced racism before middle school age, starting maybe their first experience being in elementary school. And I think it's really sad to think about and hard to conceptualize, but it's the truth. And seeing as this is a pattern, and it often comes from the parents' form of thinking passed down to their children, or even my experience in middle school as well. Even though I was born and in the US and I am a US citizen, I've been told that I should be deported, and I know that other people have faced that, or even stronger xenophobia, racism. And I think it's often normalized, but I think that's why it's important to be able to talk about these things and make sure that they're being documented, and also that we know that's part of the story and how we can change that, and also rechange the narrative, reframe the stereotypes that are placed onto us into letting us give our own representation and identity.